Hi, I'm Parker Gutierrez.
I'm Ryan Lange.
And I'm Ryan Breen, and we're here to answer some questions about Japan. Number one, was Commodore Perry and President Fillmore justified in sending the Black Fleet to Japan? Lang, you
All right.
start us off.
Okay, thank you for the introduction. No, there really was no justification behind it. Commodore Perry sent the Blackfeet more as a warning. It showed that the U.S. was very formidable. They were not a force to be reckoned with. And the Japanese shogun recognized this, gave in, and signed the Treaty of Kanagawa. Sending such a large naval fleet just to intimidate the Japan into trading is in no way justified.
So, I also don't think it was justified at all, because sending such a large fleet to intimidate Japan into trade is just not right, and they should be able to make their own decisions without any pressure. Unless Japan was doing anything wrong, which they weren't, sending naval fleets just for trade and intimidation is completely unnecessary.
On the contrary, I think sending the Black Fleet to Japan was somewhat justified because the US wanted Japan to sign the Treaty of Kanagawa, and the only way the US could get Japan to do that was by utilizing their intimidating steam-powered ships to force them into signing the treaty.
Number two, what influences do you think were most important in motivating Japan to build its empire?
Okay, I think that the largest influence was the Western civilizations because they wanted to directly influence Japan, kind of like how Britain influenced China with the Opium War.
Adding on to that, the Japanese had to modernize their empire to prevent this from happening, and this caused the Japanese empire to form. So overall, the Japanese were forced to modernize, or the Westerners would take more control.
So, in this modernization, they took many aspects of the Western civilization and mixed it in, such as America's educational system and Germany's government system. They also modeled their military off of the Westerners, and they became the strongest Asian country in terms of the military because of this. Number trace. In your view, was Japan's aggressive imperialism justified? Did they even have a choice?
In my view, Japan's aggressive imperialism was justified because of the conditions they were under. So, Westerners threatened Japan in 1853 with four steam-powered ships, and this showed Japan what the Westerners had the power to do, so they had to have acted fast. Japan adapted swiftly, and their imperialism system was justified because it enabled them to become the strongest Asian country by incorporating elements from things such as the British Navy, the Imperial West, and the German Constitution.
Okay, so in my opinion, the aggressive imperialism was 100% justified, as they were being pressured by the Westerners to trade and modernize, and if they didn't, the Westerners would most likely take control. So they had to change quickly and effectively, and they did this with the help of the Western influence, such as the American education and the German and British military. Their imperialism also helped them to be the strongest country in Asia, and they were run very well, and their military was very successful. And this is because they took part out of the Westerners and mixed them in. In addition, the conditions they were in the time needed to be changed, such as in 1853, as Parker said, and everything about them was very outdated, so imperialism was crucial.
So, as Parker and Ryan have already said, I also agree that the imperialism of Japan was justified. In the textbook on page 376, it says, beginning in the early 19th century, Westerners tried to convince the Japanese to open their ports to trade. British, French, Russian, and American officials occasionally anchored off the Japanese coast. With so many other countries pressuring Japan, it makes perfect sense that they implemented imperialism into their society. The Japanese also modeled many aspects of the modern world. These changes were a vital detail that helped Japan get to where it is today. Thank you for joining us in this conversation.
And have a great day.
Yes, thank you.